Hi everybody, welcome back to RJ Drives. Today, as you might have already read from the title itself, is going to be the first road trip that I do with my new car. So the Kia Seltos X Line that I own. Today is essentially going to be the first day, or the first time that I take it out for a road trip. So I'm all packed up. I've already got my suitcases, everything ready. You're right now with me in my room, and it is about 3 o'clock at night. So this is when we'll be leaving. I think that we'll be reaching Goa by about 2 in the afternoon today. And this particular vlog is going to be focused purely on the road trip experience, how the car behaves, and how I've sort of been feeling about the car as I go along on this trip. So that's what this vlog is going to be about. Without further ado, let's go. Come join me, and I'm going to show you all the scenic shots I can, and I'll keep checking in with you every time we stop here and there. To tell you how the road trip has been going. In addition, I'm going to pop it up somewhere here. This is the route that we're going to be using on Google Maps. And every time we stop, I'm going to take some shots. I'm going to tell you how the car's doing. And you're going to get some amazing shots and a good review of the car out of this video. So without further ado, I'm going to get started on my trip, and I'll see you on the road. Alright, so time update everybody. It's about 3:35 right now. We are starting our trip and we're in the car, all packed up, all loaded. We're about 3 people actually going to Goa this time. So we are currently still in Bangalore and just about to fuel up. And the next time that I speak to you, it should be sometime closer to daytime. And at that point, we'll definitely explore the views and everything. I'll put the camera on the windshield so that you have a better view of what's going on the road and everything. Until now, car's performing great. I don't have any fuel, so that's the first thing I'm going to be doing, filling up the fuel. And I will see you in the next shot. Alright, so this is going to be a status update. As you can see now, the sun has come up, the road looks beautiful. The highway's honestly been nothing but like the smoothest roads that I've seen. There was a small little patch in the middle that was a little bit bad, but apart from that, nothing to complain about. I've been cruising at a good 140, 130 the whole time. And the good part is that the roads are extremely smooth. The only thing I would essentially complain about with the car right now is the fact that it's giving me about 9.5 kilometers to the liter. I was having fun in the middle a little bit, so there could be that contributing factor. And definitely don't take this as the standard, because anybody who's cruising with cruise control on can easily get about 11.5 kilometers to the liter. But with my driving style, with the way I like having fun every once in a while on the highway, 9.5, I'm pretty satisfied with that. I think that's alright. Could definitely be more than this, but it's acceptable for sure. And the views are great right now. The road's like really, really nice. And I'm going to cut to some great shots of the road, guys. Alright, so status update. We had taken one stop in the middle on the way to Goa at Kamat. That was a restaurant that usually stop at when we usually drive to Goa. So this is actually about the 6th time that I'm driving to Goa. Of course, this is the first time that I'm doing it in this car, but this is otherwise the 6th time. So definitely quite used to knowing where to stop and where to get breakfast. Unfortunately, I couldn't film the place we got breakfast in, but what I did want to show you are these ghat sections. So we've just entered the ghat sections that actually sort of gets you to Goa in the first place. And it's a very, very nice ghat section. They've got white topped roads in here. And as a status update, getting about 9.7 kilometers to the liter, even going through ghat sections, and again having a lot of fun while driving the car itself. Done about 588 kilometers. I think we've got about 75 kilometers left to actually get to Goa. But definitely wanted to show you more of this ghat section and how everything looks when I'm driving the car in this place right here. would love to talk to you a little bit more about how the car feels on the road trip, what are the different experiences that I have gained while doing this, what are the different learnings, and how the car behaves during this road trip. That's something that we'll cover towards the end of this card section, but just wanted to show you a little bit of a footage of how nice it is to drive this car. It handles really, really well even with a full load, and the roads are definitely a lot of fun to drive on. So if you're able to see this is just a lot of fun and a great road to drive on. So if you're ever coming to Goa, this is the best route to take. And Alright, so now that we're sort of getting towards the end of the drive, there's a few learnings, there's a few things that I've sort of understood about the car while going over this drive, and I'd like to share that with you. So there were a couple of things that I was worried about when I started off with this drive. Initially I was trying to figure out if a 1.4 litre turbo petrol engine can perform as well as maybe a little bit of a higher capacity engine, because as I've mentioned in one of my previous videos, I had a 1.6 turbo diesel, the Creta, before this. One of my concerns was, will it perform at the same level? It is a smaller capacity engine, however, of course, it's a petrol and it's turbocharged, and it does have more horsepower and round about the same amount of torque. So those were some of my concerns, but definitely now that I've done close to 600 kilometers in this car, I can confidently tell you that there is absolutely no lack of power. This car's had a full load, and if not a full load, at least a 3/4 load in the car with 3 people, and we have quite a bit of luggage and a lot of equipment and everything that we're carrying with us as well. And based off of all of the learnings that I've gotten, this is definitely a car that can handle a good amount of load. So having 5 people with luggage, it's going to be effortless. It doesn't even sort of skip a beat when it's trying to pull through you know, high inclines, trying to do quick overtakes. Absolutely no hiccups at all. Sometimes I did notice that if I want to do a quick overtake on a hill, I have to switch it to sports mode, but sports mode is the full potential of the car. And if I'm trying to compare it to a higher capacity turbo engine or a higher capacity turbo diesel engine in this case, sports mode is the equivalent of sort of the peak of that engine. So sports mode is what I used, and this car really livens up the most in sports mode. So as soon as you switch it to sports, the revs go up. For some reason the horsepower and torque seems to go up as well, and it's just a beautiful experience when you're doing that. Now, another thing that I want to mention is the fact that the gearbox changes. So one of the things that I noticed is, as I went further and further into this road trip and I started accelerating and I took the car to speeds that I haven't taken it to before. By the way, I've touched about 190, 200 just as a test in one part of the highway. I haven't actually kept it at those speeds, but I did test it out in that section right there, and I realized that the gearbox and the engine sort of learns your driving techniques as you start driving on the highway and opens everything up. So when I was driving this car primarily in the city, I noticed that the throttle inputs that I was giving it, it was reacting based off of the light throttle inputs that I was giving, and wasn't actually opening up the entire engine in the city itself. And when I brought it out on the highway, the transmission started acting quicker, the engine started acting more eager, and those are some things that I noticed are things that change on the highway. The character really comes out of the car, and that is something I did not notice in the city until now. So those are definitely some learnings that I'd like to put out there. Apart from that, I was very also worried about the dual clutch transmission on hills and inclines. So I do know that dual clutch transmissions sometimes struggle on inclines and steep hills. I'm sure if it went to a more extreme situation, maybe such as Shimla or the north of India, it would struggle a little bit. But at least from the hills and everything that we're covering as of now, absolutely no problem, no hiccups at all. The gearbox and transmission reacts perfectly to any kind of sort of inclines and steep hills that you take it through. So those are all of my learnings from this trip. It's been honestly a great drive, and it didn't take us more than, actually let me see my drive time. It's been about 9 hours, and we expect to reach in about an hour and a half. So it didn't take us more than 10 hours to reach Goa from Bangalore. So all in all, a great trip. All right. Gandu. I'm recording that. I'm keeping that for sure. That's gonna go in the bloopers. Shit, dude. भाई किस पे चिल्ला रहा है मादर जात?
बड़ा साहब है.
In what way? Oh, I'm gonna throw up that vada.